Hello, and welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This episode is part of a weekly series called Franchise Fridays, in which every Friday we have an episode dedicated to helping you create freedom by owning a franchise. My family has been in the franchising business for over 45 years. My brother and I took over our family's franchise auto repair business and grew it from 6 locations to 30, now doing around $36 million a year in sales. And one of the best ways that you can accelerate your growth as a franchisee is to surround yourself with other successful entrepreneurs who are just a couple steps ahead of you. And so for those with W-2 jobs who are looking to buy into a franchise, you need a confidential community to ask questions and get support. I just launched a free private community for people wanting to learn more about buying and operating franchises. Go to brianbeers.com/community to learn more and join. Today, I'm going to do a business model breakdown in which I kind of dive into this concept. I'm going to talk about, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and kind of go over some of the financials. The first one that I'm going to do like this. And today I'm going to talk about residential house cleaning franchises. When most people hear about a house cleaning franchise or a business, they immediately think, well, I don't want to clean houses. But that's great because the franchisor does not want you to clean houses either. In every franchise business, there's 3 distinct roles. There's the technician, who is the person who actually performs the service. They clean the house, they fix the car, they cut the hair, they paint the house, et cetera. There's the manager, who is the bridge between the customers and the technicians. So they may estimate and sell the jobs. They schedule the technicians and they coordinate all the work. And then there's the owner, who is kind of the conductor. They have the vision, they orchestrate the entire thing. They put the right people in the right place. They create the culture and they run the entire company, right? They deal with the banks, they deal with the insurance, they deal with the landlords and all that components. And when starting out, some owners may choose to perform the manager role for a couple months in order to save payroll, to learn the business at a deeper level. Other people will hire that manager from day one. And some of them will perform technician jobs from time to time, once again, just to learn what it's like so that they can, help find solutions to make the job easier. So when I think about, a residential cleaning franchise, there are a couple things I like about it. Here they are. Number one, recurring revenue. The majority of your income, 70 to 90% of the revenue, is recurring on a bi-weekly schedule. So this creates a very stable and predictable business. So as long as you have a good retention rate, your business can compound every single year because you're adding, recurring revenue clients year over year. And as long as you have a low churn rate, right, you're not going to lose one. And that's how it grows. There are very few business models that have this strong. 70 to 90% of your business is recurring. There's fitness concepts, which obviously do, but those have very high costs to get into. There's also home health care, which is similar in a lot of ways to the cleaning business. So anyway, recurring revenue, I think is awesome. A family-friendly schedule. So it's a Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 type of business. There's no emergency calls. There's no late nights or weekends, unless of course you choose to add Saturdays and Sundays, right? To take on more clients. So this gives you flexibility, which kind of we all desire. And for some people, they start the clean business kind of as a semi-absentee side hustle, whatever you want to call it, while they still have a full-time job. This flexible schedule and this 8 to 5 kind of mentality kind of could fit in there. So I find that interesting for a lot of people. It's low cost. Anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 kind of gets you going, which includes a franchise fee to front load advertising costs, a few months of expenses, whether it's rent or, whatever your payments and payroll, and then some working capital just in case. Yeah. And, these also operate with minimal inventory. So you don't have a whole bunch of cash sitting on the shelf. They have 0 CapEx requirements. So you don't have to maintain equipment, and overall they're pretty low fixed expenses. It's an operations focused business. So not a sales business. So you are not doing cold calling. You're not going to networking events. You're not writing these big proposals. You're spending the majority of your time and budget driving leads via SEO. So online leads, search engine optimization. And a lot of those leads could go directly to your team, or in some cases, the franchisor will run an appointment center who then will communicate with those customers. So someone fills out a web form to get a quote that goes to a franchise-led call center who then texts them or calls them, gets all their information, and then attempts to set an appointment so that your manager or you or whoever goes in person to then, quote the job and get the work. I think that's a huge benefit for a lot of people. If you are not into sales or cold calling people and you just want, kind of your money to do the work and then for you to really focus on operations, this is a model that could fit that. It's semi-absentee in a lot of cases. Many franchise owners are able to run it only working 10 to 20 hours a week, as long as you have a really good management team in place to run all those day-to-day operations. And a lot of this is because it's a recurring revenue model, right? You don't have to go out and get new customers every single day. Like once you get them, as long as you do a good job, you keep them. And so I think that's pretty big. I've talked to some franchisors. It's 40% of their owners are semi-absentee, which is a great sign if that is what you want. However, there are benefits on both sides of this. Number one, so if you desire to be the semi-absentee and have that lifestyle and only work, 10 to 20 hours a week in this, that's great. It could fit exactly what you need in terms of getting additional income and having your own business. And if you're in an expansion mode, right, and you want to buy up other territories, there's usually some really good value add opportunities when buying a business from that semi-absentee owner. So if you're semi-absentee, things are going to fall through the cracks. You're not going to optimize it at the level as someone would who's all into it. So that's the pro and the con. So if you get into this thing and you want to grow, like if 40% of the system's semi-absentee, that means 40%, you could buy these things and probably see some pretty good growth if you're all in. So pro if you want to be it, and pro if you want to expand. Some of the differences between the franchisors, there's a ton of clean franchises out there. There's a handful of nationally recognized brands, and each have their uniqueness. The biggest differentiator is around what I'm going to call like control. So there's some that want full control. They want like maids to be in uniform, to drive company own branded vehicles. You must use specific products. You must have an office space with laundry hookups. The owner must be involved in the day-to-day operations. Like they kind of have this full control on what you need to do, what the thing needs to look like. And there's a reason for that, right? This is proven to them. It's possible that having all that control, the uniforms and the cars and the products and all this stuff lead to a better job, maybe more referrals, more professional appearance, more sales, right? And more money. It's possible. There's others that are complete opposite the other spectrum that want no control. So there's no uniforms. They can drive personal vehicles. There's a wide range of cleaning products. It is home-based. So not even, you don't even have to have an office space. And the owner could be a fully remote operator, traveling the world and setting this whole thing up remotely. So that's a big differentiator. So what spectrum of control? And there's many that fall kind of in between those two as well. That's technology. So technology can be a huge differentiator in terms of the software that they use in order to, find clients, to retain clients, the whole call center, contact center thing. There's one brand that even surveys customers after each clean and will dynamically pay the cleaners based on the performance. So based on the survey results, the better score they get, the higher, pay, each one gets made. So I think that's pretty interesting. And the final differentiator between the brands is honestly territory availability. There are some that are totally sold out in the major markets. So if you live in one of those markets, you might not be able to get into the number one most popular brand, but like the number two might be available. It has a lot of the attributes that you're looking for. And so, all those are kind of a factor when it goes into it. So how much money can you make? Franchisors disclose as much or as little information as they want in what's called Item 19 of the FDD. And I've talked about this a little here on the podcast. In terms of sales, there's a wide range of performance. Some of them count it as per territory. There's other that say per franchisee, which could include multiple territories. But in some brands, they average around $600,000 a year in sales. There's others that average over $1 million, in sales. I've seen some that, they own a whole bunch of territories and they're doing $4 or $5 million a year in sales. So there's a wide range of performance. So just for the sake of kind of modeling this out, let's say this thing could do about $800,000 in annual sales. And let's say that's a territory or maybe two, depending. Gross margins, pretty much across all brands, it's right around 50%, which is kind of your sales minus your direct labor cost and cleaning material. So you have $400,000 in sales, you're going to have you're going to have $800,000 in sales, you're going to have $400,000 of payroll to the cleaners and cleaning supplies, your Windex and, whatever. That leaves you $400,000 of gross profit left to pay all your operating expenses. So in the operating bucket, we've got, royalty and advertising that we're going to pay to the franchisor, and then, all the SEO to drive leads. That runs about 12 to 13%. If you have a manager in place who's kind of running all the day-to-day and scheduling the cleaners and dealing with the customers and stuff, you're going to have that salary, which could be, 60, 70 grandish. You're going to have credit card fees. You're going to have rent if you have to have that office space. You're definitely going to have workers' comp and liability insurance. You're going to have bookkeeping, possibly some vehicle expenses. Definitely going to have software and kind of other miscellaneous costs. So assuming you'd have a full-time manager who's running the business, I would target around a 15% net margin that would cash flow about $120,000 a year, on that $800,000 in sales before any debt service. So is that good or bad? Well, it's not a bad return given the low investment. If you only have to put, 80 grand or 90 grand to get this thing started, and, you can make all that back within a short, relatively short amount of time, that's not terrible. And also, it really depends on how much time you're putting into this, right? If you're able to spend 10 to 20 hours a week, once everything's up and going and you got the manager in place and you're just growing and growing and growing, and after, you're not going to do 800 grand your first year, but maybe by your third year or so, and you're now not working that many hours, and it's a pretty good return on your rate. And then from there, it's really up to you, right? You could be satisfied with the cash flow, or you could look to expand and you buy more territory. You double it up to 240 grand a year, right? You buy a third or a fourth, and you could build it into a pretty big business. Some of the challenges I see, there's three big ones. Number one's people, right? This is a people business. So you have to be skilled at hiring and retaining great employees. This is by far the biggest challenge in this business. So you have to be good at creating a culture that people want to be a part of, one that acknowledges and rewards hard work. And because if the people are only in it for the money, you're going to lose them to a competitor offering, 50 cents or $1 or whatever more an hour. So there's got to be something more than that. Number two is the competition. The house cleaning business is highly fragmented and very saturated. So marketing is the name of the game. So you got to be at the top of your local search results. You need to have a great reputation to lead to referrals. That is the big thing. So if you're looking at, Maui Made or Made Pro or Made This or whatever the Made is, I would find out what some of their top, producing markets are. And it might not be in your area, right? Because it might be new to your market, but go to the markets that they do really well in, and Google it and see, hey, do they pop up in a whole bunch of spots around the country? If they do, that means they got a pretty good plan, right? There's some due diligence you're definitely going to want to do to confirm everything that they're telling you. But competition's big, but like I said, it's highly fragmented. There's a lot of independence. If you can win at the marketing game and you have good execution on the operations, there's definitely market share to be had. And then finally, number three, scalability. Due to the people-centric focus of this business, I don't see it as one that you can scale across the country. That doesn't mean you couldn't dominate your local market. You can make a great living. Totally possible, but it's not the type of business that you can grow to $50 million a year or whatever and get some big PE exit. So it really comes down to your goals. Are you looking for a business that's relatively low cost to start, low cost to operate, is recurring? You can kind of, help build it, you help get it off the ground, and then you eventually kind of turn into autopilot and it becomes hopefully, not this full-time high intensity business that you can make a pretty good living at. If that's what you're looking for, then it could be a great fit. If you're somebody who wants to grow this thing across the country, raise money, build this huge brand, exit to a big private equity company, probably not a good fit. So it really depends on what you're looking for. This could fit a lot of people. There's a lot of people I talk to doing franchise consulting where I help them match brands. And this is a great fit for a lot of people, but for other people, that doesn't fit at all. So a lot of it's up to you. And there's no perfect answer. There's no magic bullet when it comes to franchising. It's all about finding the right franchise that matches your skill set. And that's all I got for today. And if you want to join my free community, go to brianbeers.com/community to sign up and join. We got a free Facebook group. We do calls, interviewing successful franchisees and talking about a bunch of different things related to growing a business. So I'll see you next week. Cheers.